This is Marley. Marley is easily one of the best things to ever come into my life. And I don't know what I'd do without him. Now don't get me wrong, he's a lot of work. We go on about 3 miles worth of walk a day. We have to do loads of obedience training.
Okay.
I have to give him exercises to keep his mind engaged.
Where is it? Yay, good boy.
And I have to ensure that he... Oh, you want to get down? Okay. Oh. And I have to make sure he has a well-balanced diet to ensure he stays in the healthiest condition. But he makes it all worth it by being the goodest of boys. All of which got me thinking. Given all the dog Pokemon we now have available to us in the Pokemon games, which one would make for the best pet? Now, of course, like real-world dog breeds, each Pokemon would have specific needs that, if met by a trainer, would allow any one of them to become a well-behaved companion. However, if we're talking about the average person, someone who works a full-time job or has other daily life commitments, someone who is willing to do some basic training but isn't someone who'd consider themselves a trainer, what would be the best Pokemon for them? Who is Pokemon's best boy? Stop grumbling. Firstly, we have to address the Copperaja in the room. Pokemon possess special abilities. Some of them even have the power to burn your house down. Obviously, this is a common problem for people who live in this world though, so I assume they learn as they grow up how to manage tamed Pokemon so that they don't discharge their special attacks during inopportune moments. As such, I'm not going to take this factor into account for deciding the viability of any particular Pokemon as a pet, unless of course that Pokemon is notorious for being difficult to control or lets off any form of special energy during normal everyday activities. To give our would-be pet owners the best chance of training these new doggos, I think it's best that they get them from a puppy, or the Pokemon's basic stage. Like with real-world dogs, this allows for them to put best practices into place early, and intervene with any behavioral issues before they develop into a real problem. It also cuts down the amount of Pokemon I have to cover for this video, and means I don't have to explain why my favorite Pokemon Arcanine would be a bad pet. Yeah, for any of you who thought I was going to be biased here, let's get what I assume you thought would be the top of my good boy list out of the way, and say that Growlithe would not be a great pet. That might seem like an odd statement, seeing as Growlithe is known for being fiercely loyal, incredibly obedient, and even smart enough to work as a police dog. But just like real-world police dogs, such as German Shepherds or Belgian Malinois, just because the police can train them to be amazing companions, doesn't mean the average person can. Growlithe defend their owners and their homes by barking and biting anyone they perceive as a threat. So, without an experienced trainer to teach both the Pokemon how to behave and the owner how to give commands, I can see these situations ending poorly more often than not. The Pokemon Moon Dex entry says it all. It looks cute, but when you approach another trainer's Growlithe, it will bark at you and bite. It's a great looking Pokemon. And in the right hands, it could be amazing. But I just couldn't recommend it to the average person. So what about our other fiery friend? Surely if I don't recommend Growlithe, then I'm not going to recommend Houndour, right? Well, I don't. But not really for the aggressive tendencies. In fact, the Ultra Sun Dex entry highlights it cooperates with others skillfully. When it becomes your partner, it's very loyal to you as a trainer, and it will obey your orders. Sounds fantastic. And it has that scary look that people do go for in dogs. So why wouldn't I recommend it? Simply, the vast majority of its Dex entries refer to it acting as a member of its pack. Houndour is clearly a very social species, and most people looking for a dog aren't prepared to adopt an entire pack. Getting a second guinea pig for the sake of the animal's mental well-being is one thing. Getting a second or even third hellhound suddenly becomes a lot to ask of someone. Also, according to their crystal entry, they're up howling at dawn. Nobody needs that. People have neighbors. Well, if Gen 1 and 2's doggos didn't cut it, maybe Gen 3's Electrike will. No! Electrike runs faster than the human eye can follow. The friction from running is converted into electricity, which is then stored in this Pokemon's fur. You let that thing off the lead once, and not only will you immediately lose it, but even if you did manage to catch it again, which you won't, you're going to be shocked the moment you touch it. And you might be thinking that you just never let it off the lead, but then it's just going to have a bunch of pent-up energy and have a load of behavioral issues as a result, possibly even developing destructive tendencies. It truly is amazing how many problems you can have with a pet dog that is not getting the exercise it needs. Plus, what if you're playing fetch in the house and it runs after its toy, shorting out every electronic it passes? And good luck keeping one in that wants the ball out the door. It will be gone literally before you're able to notice. Also, did I mention that the buildup of electricity in the fur doesn't only occur when it runs? It happens if it's just a particularly dry day outside. No, sorry, we can't watch YouTube today. It's summer, so my dog broke all my electronics. Give this one a miss. Let's instead look at a normal type Pokemon. That way, there's no issue of them producing energy randomly. Something like Furfrou. It's known to be loyal and used to guard the royalty of Kalos. Should be perfect, right? Unfortunately not. Take it from me. Long-haired dogs shed, and that hair gets everywhere. And it's particularly noticeable when their hair is white. Isn't it, Marley? And what color is Furfrou? Now sure, you could groom and cut its hair regularly to reduce shedding. After all, Furfrou has 9 different forms based on the different haircuts that it can have. Forms that last all of 5 days. Then its hair is fully grown out into a shaggy mess again. And you've just killed another vacuum trying to pick up all the hair from the carpet. They always say it's pet friendly. They always say it's designed for pets, and then it just dies because you had a pet. Not to mention that you gotta find a groomer that your Furfrou trusts. Otherwise it won't let them near it. And then, sure, it only costs 500 Pokédollars, or roughly £3 to cut them, based on the conversion rate of fresh water to a standard bottle of water in the UK. But that's £3 every 5 days, or £219 a year. Actually, that's not that much, is it? Like, in the grand scheme of owning a pet, that's not the biggest expense you'd have. I'm still going to leave Furfrou on the do not recommend list, though. Purely for the inconvenience of the whole situation. Because if you don't cut the hair, it continues to grow. And given the rate at which it seems to do so, neither you nor your groomer would ever be able to take a holiday again, unless your dog suffocates in its own fur. Perhaps then a dog without fur, like Fido. Instead of having fur, it's smooth and moist to the touch. Ew, that's disgusting. You could have bet your dog and come away with a moist hand. Oh no. What's more is that it breeds yeast. Now that might be good for baking, but an excess of yeast can do horrible things to the human body. You can catch something called... Oh, it's a different kind of yeast. Okay, right. Lewis, cut the slideshow. No one needs to see that if they don't need to. Well, there goes half of that argument. It's still not making the good boy list, though. Go stroke dough, then come back to me and tell me you want it as a pet. You won't. Another Pokemon first introduced in Scarlet and Violet will also not be receiving my recommendation. For what I assume are obvious reasons. Play the footage.
Okay, here we go. Wow. Searching for ghost types really sucks the life out of you. Okay, just one more time.
Yeah, Greavard drains your life just by being in your presence. That's not a great trait for a pet. Then there's the Dex entry from Violet. This friendly Pokemon doesn't like being alone. Pay it even the slightest bit of attention and it will follow you forever. We call that separation anxiety. Speak to anyone who got a dog during lockdown. Ask them if that's fun to deal with. Who else is there? Rockruff? I mean, he's cute, but it shows its affection by rubbing the rocks around its neck across your face. It also infamously gets unruly as it matures. Just one day, your adorable little puppy reaches its teenage phase and starts hating you for no reason and being uncharacteristically mean. Just like a real teenager. And nobody likes teenagers. Shall we do the honorable mentions before I unveil the very short list of dog Pokemon I would recommend? And by honorable mentions, I mean Pokemon that I'd either barely consider dogs or ones that no average person would ever be able to obtain. Let's speedrun this though, as this video is getting longer than I expected it to be. We have Poochyena, just an all-round meanie, really. At first sight, Poochyena takes a bite at anything that moves. If Growlithe doesn't make the list, then this can't either. Riolu. It would make a fantastic therapy dog, with its ability to see people's auras, allowing it to read their physical and emotional state. Except there's just one problem. It's exceedingly energetic, with enough stamina to keep running all through the night. Taking it for walks can be a challenging experience. Even the Pokedex is on my side. There is no way you are giving this dog enough exercise to make it happy, therefore you can't have it. Smeargle! A special fluid oozes from the tip of its tail. It paints the fluid everywhere to mark its territory. That's gross, and it's likely to get you arrested for vandalism. Nobody wants a pet that's going to put them in prison. Next, Zacian and Zamazenta. Okay, even if you could find them, which you can't even pet them unless you offer them weaponry. Don't get me wrong, a dog with a sword is cool, but you're not the chosen hero. So it's kind of a moot point. What's more, Zamazenta weighs in at a whopping 785 kilograms, more than the weight of a cow. And that's just too big to be a lapdog. And seeing as we all know that all dogs are lapdogs, regardless of the size, this one's just a no-go. Then there's Okidogi, the newest comer to the series, and frankly, anyone who gangs up on a defenseless ogre pawn and kicks it while it's down can never be deemed a good boy. In fact, dare I say it, Okidogi is a very bad dog.
You're a bad dog.
Take that back.
This brings us, finally then, to our list of Pokemon that would in fact make great pets for almost anyone. Unfortunately, there's only one here that comes without caveats, but with minimal effort, any one of these would be a manageable companion. Starting with Yamper, possibly one of the cutest dog Pokemon we've ever had. Now, despite its appearance, this short king, much like its real-world counterpart, the Corgi, was originally bred for herding, and it is not forgotten. It will take a lot of exercise to keep this little guy happy, but unlike some others we've mentioned so far, I think it would at least be manageable. It does build up electricity when it runs, similar to Electrike, but isn't able to store it in its body, so it's far less of a hazard. Just be aware that those herding instincts will have it chasing after basically anything that moves too quickly. Pokemon, children, cars, whatever it is, Yamper will go after it, so you'd have to keep an eye on it. Then there's Mash Chief. Not only will it make the children in your neighborhood laugh with its silly face, but it will also raise your son for you when you choose to abandon them to work on your time machine. We simply can't ask for more than that. Be aware though, although this Pokemon is not known to be particularly vicious, its jaws are capable of pulverizing boulders. So be sure to get some teething toys and make sure it's well looked after, or it will be leaving more than teeth marks when it chews up your furniture. One, particularly for the ladies, at least according to the Pokedex entries, but if you want to smash down those gender stereotypes, I'm all for it. We have Snubbull. It's super cute in an ugly sort of way, has an amazing temperament, and won't need much exercise as it spends half the day sleeping on the couch. Not one for someone looking to go hiking with their four-legged friend, but for anyone looking for a low-maintenance addition to the family, Snubbull may be just what they're looking for. You'll just have to deal with the sad look in its eyes when someone says they don't like its face, or when it gets bullied at the dog park. Oh no, does the Dex entry really say it gets bullied? That's so sad. If you were to ask me personally though, I wouldn't have one. Much like real-world bulldogs, overbreeding has done horrible things to their respiratory system. And whether you like the look of that flattened face or not, I just can't get on board with the breathing problems it has caused for the dogs. Poor thing, it goes around going, "Snubbull, Snubbull, Snubbull." Sounds like it's choking on itself. Snubbull. This brings us to our last dog, the very best pick for anyone from first-time owner to experienced trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all you beautiful people in between, for your consideration, I give you Lillipup. It's small enough to be suitable for any living conditions, wouldn't need huge amounts of exercise, it's incredibly clever, more so than even most children, so training it would be a breeze. It's brave enough to defend you, but smart enough not to go pick fights, and it doesn't even bark. Well, okay, the Sun Dex entry says it doesn't yelp, but I assume they mean bark and not that it doesn't leave harsh reviews for restaurants it visits. Either way, with seemingly no downside, the Captain Fidget Very Best Boy Award goes to Lillipup. Well deserved, I think. And if you agree or disagree, then let me know in the comments down below, because that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again on the next one. But until then, I'll catch you later. Continuing to make these videos would not be possible without the help from our channel members and especially our Mega Tier members. Thank you.